Hello, and a very warm welcome to a very special podcast series, Unusual Suspects. I'm your host, Gaurav Chaudhary. This is a series about unraveling stories of entrepreneurs, investors, and businesses that are disruptors, yet not in your face. Their disruptions have consistently delivered on the purpose and the mission they embarked on. Their values are as strong as the mission. While they're ruthless in pursuing their ambition, they don't stray from being leaders who are not just admired for the vision and relentless pursuit, but also for how they're building an ecosystem of believers who consistently push the boundaries. They allow principles to take precedence over ad hocism. For them, profitability is as important as scale, creating and leading new categories and innovations. In each episode, I speak to one such leader, talking to her or him or them about their businesses, lives, inspirations, interests, challenges, pivot moments and turning points, successes, failures, agonies, ecstasies, and of course, little joys. It is as much about their personal life stories as about their entrepreneurial journeys. Unusual Suspect streams on Earshot.in, Spotify.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, MoneyControl.com, and a host of other podcast streaming platforms. For this episode, I'm delighted to have Nikhil Rajpal, CEO of Hero Electronix, which has forayed and is carving out a space for itself in the smart devices category through Qubo, entering a growing market led by Chinese brands besides Amazon Echo and Google Home. Welcome to Unusual Suspects, Nikhil.
Thank you, Gaurav, for having me. I've been following your podcast and fan of it. So great to see that be on it, and for that you too feel we're worthy of being on it. Thank you.
Delighted to have you here. I'll start off with a very general question, just for the understanding of our listeners and also me. Global manufacturing over the last 2.5 decades had gravitated towards China, turning it into the world's factory, and that's a very well-known story. From sophisticated inventions such as iPhones to the quintessential safety pins, from everyday garments to active pharmaceutical ingredients or APIs as they are called, assembly lines in China have been shipping out products to the rest of the world in trillions, both by value and volume. Do you now think that dependency is beginning to change? Nikhil?
Good question, Gaurav. I'm quite impressed by what China has pulled off in the last 20, 30 years. The scale of manufacturing they have built, as you said, from safety pins to iPhones is impressive and amazing. The world always wanted another option, but I think there was no real, as those things are nice to do, it never really happened. But I think the last 3 or 4 years with COVID have really changed that game. Global businesses have learned what over-dependence on one country can mean. And without getting into the politics of this, right, we all saw the disruptions with COVID in China and how for 1.5 to 2 years, China was really shut down, and the impact it had on global supply chains from semiconductors to automotive. I think that's caused a fundamental shift now in how corporations, global ones, are looking at things, and they all want a China plus one strategy. It was always a thought, but now they're putting into action. And I think, luckily for us in India, we are just at the right time, at the right place, at the right time. Given how our economy is doing in a world which is not growing so fast, given the abundance of talent, and I think kudos to the government initiative on Make in India. India is really the only other alternative today. So I think now I'm seeing a serious shift to a China plus one, and where the plus one is, I think, is going to be India.
Qubo says that it designs and manufactures products for Indian homes and lifestyle. And this is a very interesting positioning, both from a brand positioning point of view as well as from a product positioning point of view, because India is everything and opposite is true about India, and that is also true of the consumption market or the consumer goods market. Because in a typical household in India, there are multiple generations living in the same home. How are you building products that will work in that environment? Because the needs are different and the requirements are different. Nikhil?
Very good question. When we started Qubo, the whole idea was, how do we bring the smart devices revolution to Indian homes? We've seen over the last 10 years, a lot of products are getting really smart. A watch is not a watch anymore. It's a health device. A TV is not a TV anymore. But our door locks, our doorbells, our multitude of home devices are still not smart. So our ambition was always, how do we, bring the benefits of smart products to Indian homes? But Indian homes are very different. You can't take what works in the US or in Korea and just transplant into India. As you said, we live in very different homes. We have multiple families. I live in a home with my, 13-year-old son and my, 75-year-old dad. And also, health comes and goes. So our homes are very different. And it's not just homes. I think our needs are very different, given how our homes are, right? So it was less about making technology, which is different. It is more about solving for use cases which are Indian. I'll give you an example. One of our best products we've made is a video doorbell. You press the bell and then suddenly a video call comes on your phone and you can see who's outside. Now, in the US, the biggest use case of that is packages. Nobody's home in the day, and Amazon delivery guy comes and he doesn't know what to do. So that's a use case, talk to the delivery guy. India, that's not often the case, right? We have people at home, or even if not, the delivery guy is going to call you 20 times, right? So our use cases are different. We have things around too many people come into our home. So the use cases around how do we manage a long list of visitors? Some of them are family members, some of them are guests, some of them are health, right? So the use cases change. So I think what we've done is built our technology, our AI, to solve for those use cases, right? And obviously work in a multi-generation home. So you can't just have only smart options. You also have to have more, other options. So that's the way we thought about this.
Nikhil, there's a perception that Indian companies cannot produce good technology products. What's your view?
I'm happy to say that that's a misconception. And I think to make that claim, let's talk about what technology product is. In my mind, we can and are making world-beating products in India. I think a technology product today is a combination of hardware, software, some cases AI, cloud, and app. Right? I think all those individual skill sets exist in India. There are enough people who worked on global products for many other companies and have the skill sets. There are enough people who build products outside India, Indians who want to come work here. I think the people and the talent exists. I think what we probably lack is the capital and the patience and the risk taking, which is required to build great products. Products require lots of investment and they fail. Our technology companies have come up in a world where we're either doing services businesses, so there's no risk, or often our product companies are importing from China and reselling, again, no risk. Right? I think it's more about, yes, we have the talent, yes, we have the skill sets, but we need to build more of a investing and risk-taking culture, which encourages people to build products and take risks and even sometimes fail. I'll give you Qubo's example. I think we're quite lucky that we've had Hero behind us and who believes in the mission. Hardware is hard. It took us almost 2.5 years to launch our first product. 50 people worked over 3 to 4 years to build the hardware, the software, the cloud to launch the product. And it failed, right? And it was a hard lesson, but it's all the investments and sub-technologies we made and the learnings we had from that failure that we were able to quickly launch the next product in 6 months. We succeeded. And then another one in the next 3 months, right? And now we've built the knowledge that we roll out at least one product every 3 months. And we know what works. So if I back up to your question, can we build great products from India? Absolutely. I think there are enough companies doing it. We just need more of an investment and risk-taking culture and the acceptance of failure for this to scale.
Nikhil, from smart connected home devices to audio sunglasses to handheld other devices, can you describe the journey of Qubo to me? Which is the best-selling product so far? Which are the next line of products you will get into?
Good question. And I think going back to what I was sharing right earlier, our goal has always been to become a smart devices company which uses technology to make lives better. And the areas we're focusing on is the home and the car and the outside. So the way we think about this is we have two verticals, home and auto. In home, we are doing smart products like smart cameras, smart door locks, smart doorbells, things which all, smart lights, the whole smart automation story all on one app. So you can have the benefits of your home being secure and automated from one company, one set of products in one app. The same way we look in auto. We're doing things like dash cams and so on. So I think these are two domains. In each of these domains, home and auto, you already have 8 to 10 SKUs each in the market, and I have plans of launching at least 2 to 3 more every quarter in these areas. As an example, next month we'll be launching a car and bike tracker in the auto side, which is we're hoping to be a big product, which really helps you make sure that your car and or bike is safe, is being used properly, and if you're on it, you can also manage your life on it. Yeah.
And what would you describe as the key differentiator of your products, Nikhil?
Well, I think that's very clear for us. From day one, we've been clear. We will build differentiated products for Indian families and homes, which solve certain use cases using proprietary technology. When I started this company, almost 5 years ago, we had two choices. Many of the competition, and most of them today, if not all, they simply go to China, buy a set of products, come back and resell. That's a shortcut. It's the easiest way to make money. They have good brands, good distribution, and they find a product outside and resell them. We didn't want to do that. We fundamentally believe to build great products to solve for unique use cases, you need to own the technology. So as I said earlier, we really invested in the whole technology stack, from the hardware side to the software side to the cloud platform and the app and the AI. Everything built in India by Indians. Our clouds is hosted in India. Our products are assembled in India. So clearly, the first and the biggest differentiator for us is our own proprietary technology stack. And once you have great products, you want to make sure we have great service, right? So we've also, unlike other companies who sell in India, especially the foreign ones, invested heavily in a service and support network. We have installation teams in over 40 cities in India. We have field service, call center support, all ways to make sure that people can continue to enjoy the benefits of our products hassle-free. So I think if I back up, clearly our differentiators are proprietary technology and the service culture we built to make sure people have a great experience with the products.
Nikhil, we did talk about China's manufacturing capabilities. Let's talk about India too. The Make in India program was launched in 2014 to turn India into a global manufacturing hotspot. How would you rate the success or otherwise of the initiative, given that Qubo is a Make in India story in itself, Nikhil?
Gaurav, I think the Make in India initiative has worked quite well. I think there are many parts to it, and the government, rightly has focused on the right parts and the right sequence. The first part is creating, jobs in India, creating manufacturing jobs, and the incentives they created around first mobile phones, and then after that things like televisions and others has brought, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs to India. Right? These are factory jobs, blue collar jobs, but jobs. And you've seen a huge array of products being assembled in India now. I think I saw some data that 80% plus of the smartphones which are sold in India are now assembled here. Right? So I think that's worked great. But in my mind, Make in India goes beyond assembly and manufacturing. Right? It's really about who owns the IP and the technology for what is being manufactured in India. Don't get me wrong, Make in India assembly is great, it creates jobs, but it's not that great if the products and the software is from another country, right? You don't get self-reliant just by assembling them. So I think that's where the next level of initiatives around what the government is doing around semiconductor in India, the whole value chain in India is going to be very powerful and a great force multiplier. As more and more of the semiconductor and components come to India, more and more of the software design here, we'll see a lot more power to the Make in India initiative. That's my view.
From ideation to production to sale, how long does it take for Qubo to launch new products? What goes behind the decision of how products are selected for manufacturing? Nikhil?
The few questions you asked in there, I think let me take that one by one. How long does it take to make a product? I think it takes us anywhere between 18 and 24 months from the time we decide we want to make a product to actually get it to market. And if you think about that, there's so many phases of this, right? From takes a designing the physical design, takes what should it look like, to then building the mechanical and the hardware behind it. So the 3 months for the physical design of the product, 3 to 6 months for the hardware electronics to be designed. You get the first prototypes, you bring them, you do the software for it. That's almost a year is done. Then you start testing it, and you find obviously problems in the product, right? So there's a V1, there's a V2, and then you have to do large scale field trials, because you want to make sure that anything you ship to a consumer is tested in large scale in a variety of environments, right? Our country is large. All kinds of people in all kinds of weather conditions will use it. Bombay with its climate, humid climate, is very different than Delhi with its super warm weathers, right? So the whole period of testing goes for 3 to 4 months, and then the marketing part of it, right? So it's an 18+ month process from an idea to launching a product, which was your first part of the question, right?
Yeah.
The second part, how do we choose? I think it's a combination of what we believe our vision is and which space we want to be in, our view on what problems technology can solve. And obviously, we do a fair bit of consumer feedback, right, in terms of testing ideas to see what will work. The one interesting part about doing products which don't exist, building new things, is you can't only depend on consumer feedback, because people often don't react well to what they don't know, right? So you have to use innovative ways to figure out what would work, what would not work. So it's a bit of art, not so science, a bit of gut, a bit of testing to figure out what will work.
Right. The next question is of course about India emerging as both as a destination of manufacturing and also as perhaps the most fastest growing market for consumer goods. Global brands are beginning to take India as an essential component of their China Plus plans. For instance, Apple CEO Tim Cook, who was recently in India, has described it as an quote unquote an incredibly exciting market and a major focus for the company. In fact, he highlighted that business in India has set a quarterly record, grew very strong, double digits year on year. He said that India is at a tipping point, and he probably mentioned India about 20 times or so in his quarterly earnings report. That's an unprecedented number of times that India finds mention in Apple's earnings calls. Likewise for Elon Musk, and Elon Musk Tesla is in a bid to diversify its supply chain beyond China, is also eyeing India as the next potential spot for manufacturing. What's your view on this? Do you think this is a sign that India is now beginning to get there on the global manufacturing map? Nikhil?
Well, you're right. I think India is getting there on the global manufacturing map. The world needs multiple sources of manufacturing. We were talking a little bit ago about how after COVID, the world wants China plus one. I think India is probably the largest other place you can build scale in. Where else are you going to find tens and hundreds and thousands of trained manpower? But I think it's more than just manufacturing. A lot of these people are looking at India because India also is a very large market. I think it's the combination of us being a great market and a source of innovation and talent and manufacturing, which is all coming together. I think that's why sort of India is the right next big spot for not just Indian companies, but most global companies today. And I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, well, everyone hopes it stays that way. In fact, probably there's an opportunity for us to actually take it to the next level. And companies like Qubo and Hero Electronix and others in this peer group probably will be the torchbearers. But my last question is something that you just mentioned in your response, which is about manpower availability. And that is still one box that needs to be ticked in if India is to emerge as a serious contender for turning itself into a manufacturing destination. The problem is that the armies of youth joining the queue of job hopefuls should be skilled and upskilled to meet the labor demand. What has been Qubo's experience in this regard, Nikhil?
Yeah, I think, Gaurav, end of the day, everything is people driven. You need the talent to make into reality our dreams. I think that talent issue exists at multiple levels, right from the factory worker to the supervisor, to the manager, to the software engineer, to the hardware engineer, to the marketing professional, to the digital marketing professional. I think overall as a country, we are very blessed to have a large percentage of young people who are hungry, who want to achieve more, who want to do more. And they're coming through the education system, unfortunately, without enough relevant skills. So I think we need to solve this training problem at scale at all levels. And there are a lot of initiatives in the play, both from government and public and private sector to solve that. But yeah, I mean, that is the biggest challenge for us right now. I don't think the demand is the problem. I don't think the perception of India is the problem. A lot of the infrastructure bottlenecks around transport, ports are being solved. I think the real challenge for us to solve now is the talent training at scale. But I'm very hopeful. Look, I think many other sectors have done it in the past. IT services did it. That was not just labor, but it was actually highly skilled talent. Having worked in that sector, there are millions of people today who are working in the IT services and BPO sector, and they were all trained by our own Indian companies, right? So I'm quite hopeful as we scale in manufacturing, and not just manufacturing, but building product companies, we will be able to train people at all levels. I think the good news is that we have enough of young people who are hungry, and that's not true of everywhere in the world. So I think we're lucky in that sense. The training problem will also be solved, in my mind.
Thank you, Nikhil, for sharing your deep insights and offering a perspective on a wide area of the manufacturing sector, but on also sharing the roadmap of which way Qubo is going and how India can actually eventually stand up shoulder to shoulder with China on the manufacturing global map. Thanks, Nikhil, for taking the time out and dropping by to have this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav.